Get full episodes of The Damage Report as a podcast on iTunes and Android, and you can watch the live show every weekday on YouTube TV. This weekend in LA is Politicon, the big gathering of those on the left and the right and the center to just punch each other in the face as much as they can. And we're lucky to be joined by one of the big participants at this year's Politicon. Sally Kohn is gonna be joining us, author of The Opposite of Hate, host of the State of Resistance podcast. Sally, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm not ready to be punching anyone. I just, I'm going to the wrong conference. Nice to see you.
Well, and you have the credentials to say that because you actually have a book sort of specifically about how we're supposed to be moving past that sort of thing. And I do want to talk about your book, but I also want to preview some of the different discussions that you're going to be involved in. So you have one with Scotty Nell Hughes called "Should We Hate Trump Voters?" So, I don't want to do like a big spoiler or anything, but should we hate Trump voters?
Well, I mean, this is my actual book talk. I think it's Sunday afternoon. I'm doing so many things at Politicon, I'm going to lose track. But if you're going to go to one, go to that one. They said, let's do a book talk about the opposite of hate. I said, well, the problem is nobody ever thinks they're hateful. They think hate is somebody else's problem. Turns out it's all of our problem, not to the same degree, not in the same ways. And so I knew a conversation like that would draw people in. And look, people ask me all the time, like, if I'm not supposed to hate, so does that mean I can't hate Trump? So look, if you have to hate someone and you're gonna hate Trump, fine, I don't care. But you don't have to hate his followers, right? Because they're more than just who they voted for in 2016. By the way, I'm more than who I voted for in 2016 too. And they're not him. And also, right, there's a moral component to this. Do you really believe in treating all people equally? But there's a practical aspect too, which is, look, do you want them to be Trump voters again in 2020? And I don't. And I've never met anyone who changed because they were hated into it, right? The way we engage people, the way we change people, the way we bring them along is not by hating them.
I certainly agree pragmatically with you. Yeah, you can't like force a person to change their mind. I do agree. I guess one of the complicating factors is, I think obviously psychologically, the left and the right has some fundamentally different values and ways of approaching the world and other people. And so like your sort of stance of wanting to be more understanding, willing to listen, whether based on a values thing or a pragmatic thing, and you're combining both, it seems like it's rarely matched on the right, that there aren't a lot of voices that are becoming high profile by saying, hey, maybe the libs aren't evil. Maybe they're not trying to destroy the country and flood it with illegal immigrants. Do you think that in a way it can be sort of a unilateral surrender, or are works like yours helping to encourage those on the right to do the same?
Well, I mean, I hope they are, right? And I've had some encouraging conversations with folks on the right who are, and they are out there, they exist. But the fact of the matter is there's two reasons I hold the left sort of more accountable. One is because I'm actually a member of the left, card-carrying rank and file member of the left. And I believe that that's where I can have the most impact and change. And that actually we do too much of scrutinizing the other side and not holding ourselves accountable. And I actually think we need to do a lot more of the opposite, being a little more generous to whoever it is who's different than us and we may not see eye to eye with or be the same as, while scrutinizing ourselves and our own community more. But the other aspect is, look, I know why I'm a progressive. I'm a progressive, supposedly, because I believe in the equal dignity and humanity of all people. Now, if I say that, right, it's usually what I actually just mean is I believe in the equal dignity and humanity of my people and the people who aren't being treated equally and fairly, and right. And that's important, by the way. And the problem is, I don't actually think both sides are equal offenders when it comes to incivility and injustice and cruelty and hate and dehumanization, demeaning people. I don't at all. And them doing it doesn't make it okay for us to do it. And if we really believe in the equal dignity and humanity of all people, then do we actually act on that and enact that for all people, including the people who disagree with us, as opposed to letting their bad behavior define our values, which seems to me giving them even more power than they deserve.
I don't disagree with you, and I do see that happening, and it does worry me because obviously, while I'm worried about what's going on while Donald Trump is president, I'm also worried about what we'll be left with once we moved on from him.
Right.
But one thing I want to talk to you about is so you have this book and sort of the driving philosophy behind it. In previous years at Politicon, you've participated in high-profile debates. A few years back, you
God,
you
don't
debated.
remind me.
Well, no, I mean it's Politicon season, so I have to. So you
No,
debated.
I know. Go there. Yeah, I did.
You debated Ben Shapiro, and so what do you think about what seems to me to be a rising tide of more and more of these sorts of debates going on? That you can't watch, an online video without a pundit challenging someone else to a debate. Like you want to bridge divides between people. These debates are often pitched as a way to do that. Do you think that in practice they actually do?
Look, I don't know. I mean, first of all, that was definitively one of my lower points, performatively and intellectually. He mopped the floor with me. It's not, and then partly that's because, I kind of, I guess I'm naive or something. I show up prepared to discuss the actual topic we've been told will be the topic, and he got a few good sucker punches in. But all's fair, right? I would say in general there is a disturbing trend that's happening, and it's being pushed by people on both sides, but more often by folks on the left, that we shouldn't even engage with certain people because of some of their hateful views. Now that's complicated, because what do you do with someone who is extremely anti-immigrant and extremely, and very pro-gay rights, or vice versa? And how do you parse that? And how do you decide where the line is? It's also hard to sometimes draw that line in the center left. Look, the truth is I'm a free speech absolutist, and I do believe ultimately that more speech, that speech is the answer to hate speech, that good speech is the answer to bad speech. But sometimes I'm not gonna lie, especially in this moment, whether we're talking social media or cable news or debates like these, where it just all feels performative and not actually trying to have. I've had some really meaningful, thoughtful conversations with folks on the right where I feel like I get to say what I want to say and make my points, but I come away with more understanding of their viewpoints. Not agreement, but understanding, which is very valuable in democracy. Yeah. And increasingly, we don't have spaces for that because everything is 4-minute segments or 140 characters or, a cage match, in a dramatic setting. And I think that's really unfortunate. I'd like to see more of that happening.
Yeah. Even this is an 8-minute segment, basically. I wish that we had more time. And I feel like, as an example of this whole thing, like I feel like you showed up that year for a debate the way people say they want debates to be, and he showed up lying about his goal. The only goal of so many of these debates seems to be so that you can justify a headline that says you destroyed somebody.
And you know what? In fairness, he did. It was all right. It was like there were a lot of variables and whatever. It just. Listen, we can't all have our best moments, right? Yeah. We can't all be at our best all the time. It's fine. Yeah. And look, and there've been moments since, and I'm sure I'll take crap for this, but there've been moments since where Ben Shapiro has tweeted something or said something that I agree with, and will say as much, and vice versa. By the way, there have been times where, right, and that's in the cesspool of Twitter. So look, we all have a choice. I mean, listen. Ben Shapiro is an extreme example. Donald Trump is an extreme example. The problem is here's what really is the danger, right? Is that it's when Ben Shapiro's viewers or fans are watching how people like me treat him, or Donald Trump's voters are watching how people like me talk about Donald Trump and by extension him. And again, this is a choice. It's not a mandate. I know it doesn't feel fair. I know it's a big burden to shoulder in the face of so much injustice, and especially people on the left being on the receiving end in the present and in the past historically of so much of that injustice. Yeah. And I am committed to actually trying to find the best in people, in part because that's one of my core values. I believe in redemption. I believe in change. It's why I do the work I do. I wouldn't have been an organizer. I wouldn't be doing media work now if I didn't believe that people can change for the better. And so, look, it's not always easy. It's not always pretty, but I try to create those invitations and opportunities for change, especially for the people who are watching at home, especially for the people who are on the fence. Because I think we think everyone who watches Hannity is Hannity. Everyone who voted for Trump is Trump. It's not true.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that is certainly a noble goal. So you're going to be appearing in multiple panels. No, I don't disagree with you.
I don't disagree is one of my favorite, like 21st century phrases. I'm not saying I agree. I'm saying I don't.
Okay, then let me reword it. I do agree, and I don't envy you the struggle you're engaged in, that particular aspect of this whole overall progressive job we're doing. So Sally Kohn, CNN contributor, author of The Opposite of Hate, appearing multiple panels at Politicon I believe it's in Pasadena, right? It's in LA generally.
No, it's in LA.
It is in LA this time? Okay, good.
That's where I'm showing up. So just come, and I'll be in a parking lot if there's no Politicon there.
Awesome.
Hey, I hope I'll see you there.
Thank you. Hopefully see you there, Sally. Thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from The Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.